The world is progressing, and it's good that the world is progressing. But then, with the progress of the world, a lot of its side effects, called the bad effects, are also taking place, for which now the time is ripe for us to be have concern. So waste management is a big issue, big topic to not only discuss but put some of these ideas into practice. So if we have to keep this planet like a living planet for us and our forthcoming generations, not only for ourselves but also for our forthcoming generations, this is the right time to think seriously towards conserving our resources, protecting our environment, and reducing the waste generated. And thus, there is an urgent need for the management of waste to stop further pollution. That means we will be entering into the serious topic to discuss the need for the waste management. Need, there is a need. Why there is a need? Now we have got roughly the three examples are here, rather three reasons are here. The groundwater is contaminated with the toxic waste seep into the water. This is largely responsible for the spread of many diseases like cancer and those related to the stomach. The types and kinds and the names of the diseases are innumerable, but you can understand that our environment is getting polluted, so we have to now be alert and, of course, show our concern. Take the bold steps to stop waste, rather manage our waste. Second reason why there is a need for waste management is accumulated wastes provide a safe breeding ground for flies, insects, and rodents. They are the carriers of diseases. Okay. Now, these spread infection among humans by entering their houses and infecting their food and water, sometimes leading to the outbreak of epidemics. Dear children, when we talk about geography, let us not get into the biological explanations of all this, how they do and how they are carriers, how it is called, contagious, etc., etc. That is don't have to see, but we have to have some general knowledge that these flies, insects, rodents, they do spread the diseases, okay, or the infections. There is an enormous discharge of liquid wastes like dyes and chemicals into rivers. This harms the aquatic life, the life in the water called aquatic life, sometimes leading to their destruction. Water from the mining areas also pollutes the river. So these are the roughly the main three reasons or the realities for which we have to be seriously thinking about the need for the waste management. Now, methods of disposal of waste, rather we call the methods of waste management. What are the methods or process or the steps that we should or can, rather we may take in order to measure, that means how to say, to keep our waste little less or less hazardous. Landfills is one of them, one of the methods of disposal of waste. The most common method of disposing of waste is to dump it in a landfill. I gave an example in the last class that you see every now and then, especially in the morning time, the municipality van comes with lots of nice song around you, wake you up rather from your what is called sleep, and they what they do, if you have dumped your garbage or waste on the right place, dustbin or dustbin they say, they will collect from there and they will together they will collect from all the areas, and it will become, the van will be full, and obviously they will unload it to a certain area called, they will dump there. So dump it in a landfill. Landfill means a place which is a depression or ditch, and they dump it there. Then slowly that place will be filled, and one day that will become a kind of level land. So, the most common method of disposing of waste is to dump it in a landfill, which is generally located outside the cities and towns. The waste in the landfills contains dangerous substances like chemicals and paints. Spurious gases like methane are harmful to the environment. The toxic liquids pollute the underground water, and at times the waste is exported to countries which are economical backward. So I remind you one thing, that you are expected to know what is landfill, what is this process, what is advantages and disadvantages both. At least one good point you should know about it. Use of air scrubbers means, the air scrubbers are anti-pollution devices resembling metal pipes which trap the particles from the emissions of gaseous waste. The scrubbers prevent these pollutants from entering the atmosphere, where they can change into harmful compounds, for example, acid rain. The pollutants are removed from the emissions by spraying the scrubber liquid directly into it. The dirty particles are surrounded by the scrubber liquid, which are carried along with the gas emissions into the cylinder. The third one, segregation method, is a very important risk call method, and it is used also. Segregation, the word segregate, it comes from English word to separate, separate what into what. So it is very important that waste should be separated and collected according to their characteristics. For example, plastic should be kept in separate bags, metals in another bags, and disposal of waste will then become easier. You go to some bigger cities, you will find that there are not just one. This is the plus some plastic containers, or say plastic barrels, or say plastic barrels are kept in especially if you go to Dhanbad station, you will find, and in some other parts also Dhanbad, you will be two containers are kept side by side. One is the green color and the other one is the other one. So not only that it is that plastics or liquid etc, but there are also color is mentioned because it is biodegradable and non-biodegradable also is mentioned. So when you talk about segregation method in detail, we will be discussing elaborately about it. But segregation in short, it understood that it is the process to separate the waste materials so that easily they can be treated. For instance, it is biodegradable. Obviously, that can be used for producing fertilizer or etc. And if it is non biodegradable, it can be recycled also. Anyways, that will be easy for to treat if we go for the segregation method. The fourth one is recycling. Obviously, dear children, in this context, there is not just recycling. So reuse, reduce, etc. All those things are there. But the recycling is whatever the waste products or waste materials are there. It is a process. It is the method in which we can reuse the thing of that waste material. For instance, the waste particles of any plastic fiber, they can be that can be used again to do something. Such a waste newspaper, waste papers, waste some pulp. They can be made to pulp, and then from there, a low quality of paper can is called obtained. So, a newspaper doesn't have a very good quality of paper, and that's why newspaper becomes cheap for us. Whatever. So the old paper can again be recycled to make new papers. This is one example I'm giving you, though. So the rag pickers, the rag picking children and women collect the reusable and recyclable material and sell it to the scrap traders, who in turn sell it to the recycling units. For example, the old paper collected is taken to the paper mill where new paper is made. The old plastic is also taken to the plastic factory where new items are made of plastic, like buckets, and even nowadays, plastic chairs, plastic tables, and whatnot. So many things of plastics are, plastic is becoming a kind of substitute for the wood. They look nice, very good, but by and large, any plastic is not good for our environment. The rag pickers solve a number of problems by separating the useful items from the rest of them. So, recycling process, the rag pickers also practice the segregation method together. Incineration, it is a very common practice, but not encouraged so much. But what is incineration? This is a process in which the waste is burnt under controlled conditions. No matter how much you control or not, but there will be pollution because of the smoke and carbon dioxide will surely emit from this. But this is widely it is practiced in many places. Okay, many places it is practiced, like the place in the colonies, the roads are filled with papers and leaves, dry leaves. The sweeper come and they collect them together, and of course, instead of carrying and collecting them and dumping somewhere, in a shortcut they just put fire in there, and of course it starts burning. Of course, the huge heap of leaves and papers, etc., garbage comes to kind of a little ash. So, incineration, it is a process in which the waste is burnt under the controlled conditions. The heat produced can be used for some useful purpose. These incinerators are fitted with pollution control devices to control the emission of toxic substances and gases. This is a simple and quick method of disposing waste in cities which are crowded. However, the incineration that I'm talking about, incineration, it is mainly, it is a very scientific, technical way of it is doing. But the example that I gave you, there is a very shallow example, not a very, it is called very, it called solid example for incineration. Incineration does have a process. So especially you say this is practiced in the mainly in the municipalities. Composting, now this is natural. Composting, this is natural. Okay, composting can be done only the biodegradable materials, means organic matter. Only organic matter can be composed, otherwise other things cannot be, like plastic and metallic things cannot be composed. Okay, anyhow, composting is the making of manure of decomposing organic biodegradable matter like green leaves, the parts of leaves, animal parts, etc., etc. The waste from the kitchen, especially the peels, etc. Anyhow, so this is called matter like green leaves from trees in garden, etc. Leftover food, vegetables, animal excreta. See the cow dung, we say no, gobar, cow dung. Cow dung is very good for composting and is a natural manure called fertilizer, not fertilizer, manure. Crop husks, okay, etc. Composting is done in three ways. So please remember, there's a three different type of composting. Another word is decomposing. Composting in short form, but actually it is decomposing some organic material which is left over as waste, can be converted to some useful material called humus or the soil ingredients. Now, vermicomposting, one of the composting is vermicomposting, in which earthworms are used in the composition of organic matter. Point to be noted, vermicomposting in which earthworms, okay, microorganism, not macro, microorganisms like earthworms are used in the composition of organic matter. Now, aerobic composting means organic matter is converted into manures in the process of air. In the air, you have got oxygen, so oxygen itself will react to what is called with the uh, ingredients of the matter which it will be, and then changed to fertile soil. So organic matter is converted into manures in the presence of air. So that's the point, presence of air. And here it is, earthworm. The vermicomposting earthworms is used, and in the air, aerobatic composting, there is air is used, and the anaerobic composting, organic matter is decomposed in the absence of air. So one is in the presence of the air, the other is the absence of air, and the vermicomposting is a different type, is called earthworms are used. Sewage or liquid waste. Urban areas are overcrowded and produce large quantities of waste every day. The human and industrial wastes go into the drainage and reach the sewage treatment plant, where it goes through several stages of treatment. Like number one, the primary treatment removes the suspended particles by screening and settling the pebbles, the sand, or the other big rather big type of what is called sediments. Secondary treatment uses microorganisms to decompose the organic material in the waste water. The particles and the bacteria settle down as sludge. The tertiary treatment is a complex biological and chemical process that removes the pollutants like minerals, metals, organic compounds, and viruses. The major problem with the treatment is the disposal of the sludge, which is toxic. Treating the sludge is time consuming and costly, and it is generally exported to the developing countries. So, the children, these are the three steps that are taken to treat the sewage or the liquid waste. Number 8, the use of electrostatic precipitators. Electrostatic precipitators, very very technical name, scientific device. Okay, these remove particulates, means unwanted particles. So these remove particulates of less than 50 size, which are electrically charged and then attracted to oppositely charged plates for collection. The particulate matter is removed to the bottom due to the vibration, and the pollutant free air then escapes into the atmosphere. Thermal power plants use this method to purify the air polluted by burning the coal. Ladies and gentlemen, dear children, you please be acquainted with this concept or the idea, the electrostatic precipitators, using the electrically charged particles for attracting the different type of particles into different plates, so that wastes are separated. Now there is a need for reducing, reusing, and recycling waste. In short, we call the 3 R's. R for reducing, R for reusing, and R for recycling waste. Now, keep in mind, nowadays also we use two more R's. Like one is called refuse. Refuse means if you don't use, so waste is less. So refuse. Anyhow, so in geography we discuss for these 3 R's: reuse, reduce, and recycle. Reuse. This includes the practice of using the things instead of throwing them away. So anything which is old, which is used once, can be reutilized, reused. For example, the wrapping paper used for gifts can be removed carefully and used again to wrap another paper. Cloth bags can be used for shopping. See, cloth bags can be used for shopping. Yeah. Now many it is called. This is the time for online marketing. No, lots of parcels are coming, and the packages are coming. So what happened? Sometimes those packets can be kept at home, and some packets are very good that can be used as carry bags, etc. Reduce. Reduce means use less. This includes the practice of buying fewer things and using them for longer period to avoid waste. Very often we buy more things, not more than required, out of fancy, out of our just how to say show off culture. We don't need, and still we buy things and just hoard things unnecessarily, and obviously sometime it will become waste. So very often we buy more things than we need. So keeping a large varieties of shoes, if I need 2 3 pairs shoes more than enough, but if I have got 20 pairs of shoes, oh that's a really not good. There are people they have got 100 pairs of shoes. Well, there's nothing to it is called compliment or say anything about them, but what we our studies or our lessons is telling us we can conveniently rather how to say responsibly reduce our need so that we don't increase the waste product. Recycle. Reuse and recycle almost the same type of term, but let's see what is the little difference between reuse and recycle. Well, recycle is the using of waste materials and making some other articles for use. For example, glass bottles are crushed to make new glass bottles. So you can ask that recycling means you are using the material, the ingredient, the same type of like from the glass to become glass bottles. Okay, whereas reuse is the you're using the same thing again. The cloth remains as cloth. At the most, what you are doing from the cloth piece, you are making a bag. So that way, but not changing the shape and size that way clearly. So little bit of clarity should be there between the reuse and recycle. Almost they are same because it is reusing the same material, but recycle is mostly in the different physical shape. Some methods which can be adapted to follow our 3 R's. It is not only just it is ideas or assumptions or speculations or how to say suggestions, but dear children, we have to take the steps to reduce our waste if we have to go for waste management. Yes, so prevention is better than nothing. They say prevention is better than nothing. If we have less waste, then we will have less headache to go for the waste management process. So let us have less waste. Number one, governmental initiatives. All efforts should be made by the government to improve efficiency of the methods which exist and also introduce technologies which are more environment friendly. Now, I just want to draw your attention to these things. I don't know how many are aware of it. Again, I give you the same example of the early in the morning, the corporation van is coming with a nice Ghana, waking you up, kachara wala aa gaya, okay. So whatever, if we citizens don't, throw or drop our waste in the particular place, how can the government also will help us? Now you just loiter, we just if we just loiter our waste materials everywhere, then it's become very tough for the government people to do the help for us. So we have to help ourselves in order to get help. It's no that it is the job of the government people, those corporation people, those who are riscal employed there to do this job. But it is our responsibilities, our moral, ethical, civic duty that we put our garbage or waste in the right bin or pin from where these people can pick up. It is always easy to pass our what is called pass the ball to others court. Always blaming the others. They are not doing. What are we doing? We are doing. Yes, I have seen many times while going to the beaches. There are corporation people. The women are there. Constantly they are picking up the litters, but we're so funny and so strange and so how do you say that very uncivic call action from our part, that we just eat or buy things, food materials, and of course the wrappers and the containers, we just drop it there, although in spite of having there are so many baskets or dustbins to put them in. We feel so lazy. That is lazy because of your behavior, but attitude wise we don't take the responsibility just to get up and go and throw the waste material in the real proper dustbin. Social initiatives. Efforts should be made to create awareness among the people in such a way that the resources are sparingly used. For example, it is called incentives should be given. Means some kind of how to say awards, prizes. Okay, if the electricity consumption is reduced. Individuals. Here is the point. Individual. Unless and until the individual takes the initiatives, rather takes some drastic, bold steps, this waste management is not going to really be successful. So, individuals, to reduce the demand on wood and prevent the cutting down of trees, paper should be recycled. Rather, less use, paperless work. Thank God that now lots of online processes going on. You children, you know that if the school was on, how many copies, exercise copies, you had to buy and write. Now, obviously, your writing has reduced a lot, although you're submitting your projects and answer scripts, etc., but by and large it has reduced. And besides, because of this online paperless work, lots of work is done online. You can, I think the time is coming soon when perhaps you'll be coming to school with a tab where you don't need a pen and paper or pencil to write. It is will be all digital. So obviously that's a different thing. But Philhal, whatever we are doing, there we can cut our uses of materials so that paper should be recycled. Now, in front of me, I was just going through, going through my desk where I found so many old copies are there, and in some of the copies, only hardly half of the pages were used. Some of the copies, at least 10 pages are left. What happened? I just tore them up and kept on my table and just bundled them together, and that made another copy. And besides, our papers, instead of going and burning, and no, that can be recycled. Plastic containers can be washed and used again, instead of being thrown away. I have a fancy that I go to the shops where you sell lots of sweets, chocolates, smalls, 1 rupee, 2 rupees chocolates, and in those the chocolates, they come in the called plastic bottles. They look very attractive. They look really very attractive. Now, so what happened? The shopkeepers, what will they do? After selling the chocolates, they will throw the bottles. Okay, what I do, I just go and collect, rather buy from them at a very cheaper rate. Okay, buy from them those plastic bottles and bring them to keep some essential things maybe in the kitchen. No, it all depends on the your fancy, your status of living, etc. You may say that, okay, gee, that is the way of keeping things. Well, that's my way of doing because I am practicing the recycling method. People should carry cloth bags instead of poly bags. You see, if we carry our cloth bag or a bag to the market, then we don't have to at least ask the sabji wali or sabji wala, polythene dijiye, panna dijiye, something they call it, no? This is one way, no? So, see, it's very easy to talk, very easy to talk. It should be done, it should be done, it should not be done, it should be done, it should not be done. But who will do? Who will bell the cat? We have to build the cat. So geography is not just subject to just to study. Geography will give us the not only information but the formation too, to put our ideas into practice. Geo, the earth. So we have the responsibility to be, concerned, and to show our concern and our responsibility to keep our earth as the living habit, okay, the living place for us all, and it is our duty to keep it safe. So with this, we must come to the end of today's discussion. We shall have the detailed discussion on these topics in the next session. Till then, children, stay well, be well, and don't take COVID-19 lightly. Keep the safety measure. So until we meet again, keep yourself safe. God bless you.